Hi, I'm Leilah Mirza. I am a transformation coach and therapist. So I'm here on the Prosperity Show today. Join me while I dive deep into the transformation and how to break through those limiting beliefs.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a guest whose journey is nothing short of transformative. Now, Leilah, how are you doing today?
Good morning. Well, from in the UK, it's now morning and I'm doing really good. I think it's about 6 o'clock in the morning, but yep, I'm really good. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Well, we do appreciate you joining us this early in the day. But isn't time a very funny construct? Because it's early morning for you and it's almost sunset for us. So we've had a really good day. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us all the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, for those that are tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in to the Online Prosperity Show, the number one show for those that are seeking transformation or business people that are looking to create a business that's profitable and enjoyable. Now, our guest today comes from humble beginnings. She actually started by running a modest crystal shop and she was at that time a single mother of two, and now she's evolved into a beacon of holistic healing and personal empowerment. Now, Leilah is the founder of LM Coaching, and she's dedicated her life to helping individuals overcome limiting beliefs that are rooted in childhood and also guiding them to unlock their true potential. Now, today we're going to dive into her remarkable story and we're going to explore the methods that she employs to facilitate the profound changes that she can create for her clients. And we also discover her experiences that can resonate with and inspire each and every one of us. Now, Leilah, I could go on and talk about things that I am not even qualified to talk about. I mean, your journey from managing that crystal shop to now becoming a holistic therapist is truly inspiring. Take us back to that time and what was actually happening in your life.
Actually, it started just a bit earlier than that shop. It started the shop was around 2018-19. That shop kind of awoken me to a lot of people's belief systems. But the journey actually started in 2014. So in 2014, I found myself as a single parent of two children, a girl and a boy, and I was living in a very small apartment. And what happened, I was studying at the time, and I was studying counseling, but I found myself coming to terms with a lot of stories and narratives that I formed over the years. And then as my journey started from that moment, everything then unraveled. I grew, and yes, then I opened up. I went working in a bank. Then I found myself being a single mother after working in a bank. And at the time, my youngest daughter, she was 1 year old. And I got to this crisis point. It was crisis, because crisis is where we grow, that I went through a divorce with my children's father. And I thought, how am I going to do this? My family are not here. I can't really ask for help. I need to really start working through my own demons. I needed to break my patterns for my children. And I started going on my self-development journey in 2014. At the same time, I was studying therapy. And then in 2019, things became better because then I had a windfall of money, which I invested into opening a shop. But that really tested me into looking into people a lot more deeper, because essentially people go into a crystal shop when they need self-help. And that really, really challenged what I was seeing on a very deeper perspective. And that really helped my journey.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for opening us up, to your world. So you did mention, your previous involvement or work in sort of the banking sector. What was your day to day like? I mean, obviously, without giving specifics, but what was your life like at that time?
Actually, I was working in the finance. So I was working in London, I was working in Southampton, in England, and my day to day was going into the bank, opening up their ATMs with my colleagues, the cashiers, clearing the ATMs, seeing clients, and that connection really started there for me. My boss, I remember, he was very, very, very grounded. And he used to tell me, "You are not Citizens Advice Bureau. You're here to help people invest their money and sell," right? So it was very, very corporate. And I was working from 9 till 6 and just behind a desk. My work was just 9 to 6 behind a desk. And that's what I was doing for just over 12 years.
Mm, absolutely. And obviously, this would have been what you were identifying as and what defined you as a person, this role that you were playing in the bank.
Yes, I mean, that I would say it definitely contributed to elements of me in my life and in my story. It contributed in my desire to really help people. And people would come into the bank. I remember one of the clients who came into the bank. We formed a really good relationship. This client and me, obviously, a business relationship, and he came in at one point investing. So he'd come with small investments, and this was in Surrey, which is quite an affluent area. So he came in and he would invest some large sums and then small sums. And then one day he came in and he told me, "My financial situation has changed." And the empathy I felt in that moment, it's, "I need to help you. I need to save you because you're my client." And in that moment, I sat down, I looked at his account and I noticed he's cashed in on everything. And he said to me, "Leilah, I'm losing everything. I've worked my way up to such a point. My life, my children, I'm losing everything." And I said, "Okay, how can I serve you? How can I help you?" He said, "I just need £100." I mean, this is a man that came with loads of money over a few years, and literally everything just started dissipating from his accounts. These, I would say, pivotal moments really made me look at money was just an energy. It was just something beyond there that people were really identifying themselves with. And they would, I worked in the banking and the finance industry for 12 years. So people held on to that money with so much emotions. And that was a very interesting perspective. That's when I knew I need to help people. I need to help heal people. But first, I need to deal with crisis. And that's when I then started studying.
Absolutely. And with that, you did the courses that you did, and from there, obviously the divorce, and then you then started the shop. What was the inspiration behind the crystal shop? Because that's a different pace of life from high stakes banks, obviously, like what you were saying, because that's what I wanted to establish, working in a banking environment and now coming into like a crystal shop. First of all, what sort of crystals were they?
So the I mean, I have some crystals around me. They were all sorts of crystals. some people call them gemstones, and I might really get thrown at with saying that word because crystal lovers hate the word stones and gemstones. It was a holistic shop, so we worked with incense, crystals, oils, all things that help people on their spiritual journey. I would call them tools, to be honest, because they don't really help you in your journey. It's your mindset. They contribute to perhaps making you feel good, but my inspiration actually came when I was living in Australia, and the metaphysical world and the holistic healing in Australia is so much more impactful than in the UK. I thought combined, like living in the UK, we're quite behind. When you go into Australia, you just have to go to Byron's Bay and there's a crystal shop anywhere. In the UK, it wasn't quite like that. And there was something spiritual that and mystical about crystal stores that I could identify with. As a young child, I was always in the mystical world. I used to like tarot cards. I used to like spiritual stuff. So it's something that I could always really identify with. And that's why I said, if I'm going to go back to the UK, I want to open up a crystal shop.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, I like how you have likened the crystals to tools, all right? Because they obviously, like you said, help people, along their journey. Now, this common thread that I'm now picking up here, Layla, money also is a tool that helps people get to wherever they want to go. And you went
Yeah.
from one tool to another. Was that something that was intentional, or like Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking backwards than you can when looking forwards?
100%, 100%. I say 100% a lot. What I was going to say is, yes, crystals are tools, and people are very externalized. Humans are programmed to fight and flight, right? So when there's a crisis, people, instead of going inside, what people tend to do is, I need to run because they are activated, and I need to find something, right? So, just as an example, some people are running from or they're running to. When people are running from, they're running on the outside and they need something to kind of ground them, or they're either looking for something. So, there's this run for like the crystals. Maybe I need the crystal, the rose quartz to bring me love. Maybe I believe in the the citron stone is going to bring me abundance. So the clear quartz is going to connect me to my soul or to myself. You know, people are looking, and then you get people who are running for money, but they're actually running from money. And that's also another tool. But the real things is it's within ourselves. And these are called intrinsic. They are intrinsic values that we need to find and ground within ourselves before we can have these tools. We need to understand the definition of what we are looking for and what it is that we want in our lives, if
Absolutely.
that makes
Now,
sense.
well, yeah, I love this because whenever so many people, like you say, in crisis, they, like you say, always look to the outside. But if you would have noticed, society, school, or our health system has always made us, look to someone. If you want to learn something, you look to a teacher. If you are sick, you look to a doctor. In society, you look to your parents or older people for answers. I don't think we are ever taught as kids to sit down and see if you can find the answers yourself. Now, how is anybody supposed to know that?
Exactly. You're right. I have 4 children, Two of them are like babies, they're twins, and my older children are 11 and 13. And I'm always trying to teach them self awareness because schools don't teach our children. I'm teaching them, how does it feel? Because we're not often taught to sit with things within us. Like you said, we are programmed by society to seek external validation, external resources. For example, if my daughter's coming from school and she's had a bad day, it's just, how can I help you? Would you like me just to listen? Or would you like me to comfort you? But it's giving you that option to know that you can feel those emotions and regulate them. And this is called regulation, emotional regulation.
Now, I like how you're obviously teaching your kids, 11 and 13. Obviously, you're doing society a deed there. There's going to be less adults to deal with in the future at some point, whereas everybody else is just really hoping somebody's going to help them. Now, in your work, you always emphasize that we're not the narrative in our childhood story. And when you mentioned your kids, I was just thinking the story that your kids are going to tell is totally different to your neighbor's kids or everybody else. Can you maybe elaborate on this concept and how you actually use it to influence your approach in therapy these days?
Yeah, so I definitely, so there's something that's called transaction analysis. We're working with people from different archetypes, maybe a child, a parent, maybe we tap into our parent archetype, or maybe we tap into our child archetype on a daily basis. So we're very much programmed by our subconscious. Our subconscious is really the part of us, of our inner child that goes back. The way we deal with money, it comes from our childhood stories, right? So sometimes people feel a lot of fear. Sometimes people do there's a lot of desperation. Sometimes people they really want to manifest or create all this abundance or prosperity, right? But there's this resistance, and they don't know they have this resistance. But these are narratives. These are I call them chatter, the narratives in your childhood that plays out. And in your relationships as well, the way you choose your partner, we look at your childhood. Your childhood is responsible, and it's built that template of how your belief systems are carried out in your adult life. And what I have to do, my job, is to merge people's inner child that's not really been healed to their chronological adult self. So I have to meet you where you were and where you were wounded as a child in your belief systems into your adulthood and bring those two together.
So obviously, if a kid gets wounded or falls down, they cry, mom hugs them, puts a band-aid, that's done. Are you saying that all of that can come back and sort of maybe catch up with them when they're older? Or is that what I'm understanding from your statement there?
So I'm working a lot more on a deeper level. I'm working with children who felt, or adults, essentially. I'm working with adults. So, what it looks like to me is an adult will turn up in my program or in my session and tell me that I want to perhaps grow in my life, or I want to elevate, or I want my business to grow, and or perhaps I'm looking for a partner and I'm just in a constant cycle of narcissistic relationships or abusive relationships. What I do is I play a bit of a detective in their childhood by looking at what their mother and what their father represented. What is their definition of safety? right? Because as children need safety, they need trust, they need a sense of belonging, and children are quite ego-centered. They believe that the world revolves around them. So how did they perceive that as a child? Maybe they may say, my mother never gave me that much attention. I fell, I bruised, she just told me it's fine. Get up, you're strong, don't cry. That then forms a belief. So I just want you to imagine your mind as a it's just clear grass, right? Just green grass in your mind. And all the seeds that you throw starts to form belief systems. They start to form plants. And that's what our mind is. So some of them may be old weeds that don't serve us. So when a client comes to me, basically, I'm looking for those weeds and I'm going to pull all those weeds out to detangle them from the truth, basically.
Wow. So from what I'm hearing, every day I'm walking and driving on the street, I'm actually driving past fully grown babies because so many people have not grown from who they were because those weeds are now they're just tangling
Yeah,
them and not
yeah,
allowing them to grow.
yeah, yeah. So many people are basically children on some level who has not really integrated into that adulthood. A, because they may have abandonment, they may have fear that they're not good enough. That's why they're hitting certain ceiling levels in their business, or they can't elevate, or they can't grow. Or some people may end up marrying someone who's as abusive as their mother or father because they don't feel worthy. Then you may see some people who are really angry on the streets because they are triggered, and triggers are really unresolved emotions that you haven't dealt with. That's what a trigger is. So when I look at people, and sometimes I'm going to a shop and just a normal transaction, and someone's having a really bad day, and then I just remember this is just a child behind this adult image who's still dealing with their own stuff, or who doesn't know how to deal with their stuff.
Oh my, because that everybody gets triggered on. You've seen it on social media now. So, what kind of world are we living in where everybody just seems like they're just on edge? Just based on certain things that are happening, and they just feel like they have to lash out or burst on other people. So is it all these feelings of trauma or maybe abandonment, betrayal that are now catching up with them and they don't know how to place those feelings then?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you use the term people are getting triggered on social media. Social media, as I see, it's a space where people are portraying things that's not always real. It's a real of what your life would look like, right? Holidays, models, money, this, and that is very aesthetic. Sometimes that brings up things for people, it brings up things for women, for girls. There's now this new thing about women should be like this and all this masculine energy and blah, blah, blah. But people are not really connected to themselves. They're not really internally connected to themselves. And that's where the triggers are coming from as well. It's a disconnect. Also, like social media, going on social media all the time, constantly, that dopamine hits that you're getting, scrolling and stuff. That shows this is like disconnected. This is why when we go on a retreat, we don't take our phones. We don't always go on social media and stuff, because it allows us to become connected to who we are on the internal self.
But Layla, how am I gonna know if people like me or people actually? Sorry, I just need to tweet this because you've just made me realize that what I do maybe is not important. But one thing that all this creates is a sense of worthlessness. Okay, it's a sense of you feeling inadequate. Like you say, you're judging yourself over things that are not real, or photos that have been photoshopped, and people take, yes, it's a 5 second clip on TikTok, but it takes a whole full day to film, and there's all these mistakes, and people feel like they need to keep up with those kind of appearances. But when you realized your own self-worth, that became a pivotal moment in your journey. So could you maybe tell us what sort of steps you first of all took to, moving from seeking external approval to now embracing this intrinsic value that you're talking of?
That is that's self-acceptance for me. It's such a liberating experience. Like, that was the best gift I could ever give myself. I would value that gift higher than marriage, than anything, because that's connection with yourself. The that moment when you don't need someone to validate you, the moment you realize that, hold on, I don't need your approval over here, I've got this, right? These are gifts that you can give yourself. That's a love that no one can touch. Self-love is untouchable, really. Self-love is untouchable. The moment that you can invest, because you're setting yourself free from expectation, from needing someone to approve, validate you, and give you that sense of wholeness. If you can find those concepts within yourself and get rooted in that, and when I'm saying get rooted, I'm saying live in that experience. Before we question or seek on the outside, we have to sit within ourselves and feel what's uncomfortable and honor that uncomfortableness. And that is work. That is deep work. And I've had to go on the journey. I used to. I'm from Cape Town originally, and I was raised to be a people pleaser. And remember, I'm empathic, and this is why I do what I do. And with being an empath, we don't really have boundaries. Well, I didn't have boundaries. That now is a different game. Boundaries was something that was critical. I would be criticized for having boundaries if I was to go way back in time, right? People perhaps wouldn't like me now because I have boundaries. But all of these things has formed part of the identity and myself that I built within me. And how I did that is by going inside. And when I'm seeing an external trigger, for example, someone triggers me, I'm going, hold on, what is that unresolved emotion that I'm feeling right now? Why are they triggering me? When was that earliest memory I felt like this? What is going on right now? How is it showing up for me? Feeling that energy, feeling that emotion, because that's what an emotion is. It's energy in motion. And that energy in motion, that emotion, is just a chemical response that lasts for 90 seconds, right? That's essentially the emotion. But with that emotion comes a story. And those stories are in our narrative of our childhood. So maybe as a child, I would have felt not enough, not perhaps worthy. So I would find things on the outside before to make me feel better. But now I have the ability to step into myself, knowing I am Leilah Mirza, this is who I am, and this is what I will continue to be. This is my power, this is my body, this is my mind, this is my soul. I don't have to give you an explanation. I don't have to be tied into a contract of a friendship with you if it doesn't suit me. Normalize being okay with not wanting to be in a place where you don't feel good at. And these are all parts of me that formed that self-acceptance and self love. And that is liberation.
Hmm. But Layla, I haven't worked in a bank and I've never worked with tools such as crystals. How can I get that much clarity? I mean, without me really exploding, because if somebody's listening to this right now, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, so I was holding on to that story. I like that story, and when I feel this way and I tell people about it, then they send me flowers, and you want to take that away from me."
Okay, okay. So then I will ask you, how does a story serve you? But you said it gets me flowers and they want to take it away from me. So the story gives me a sense of validation, right? And it gives me a sense of feeling loved. But so when in your life you do not feel those areas, so it's something on the inside that you're needing for on the outside. How would that feel, right? So we have to rewrite the narrative of that story because sometimes what happens, we create an archetype within us, right? Every human is capable of doing this. And this archetype is called the victim archetype. Now, in some people, it may look like I get sick a lot or I didn't feel very well because people have this unconscious belief that when they don't feel well, they'll be looked after. And when they're being looked after, they are getting that attention. I'm not saying you have, everyone has, but this can fall in our life that we may not even be aware of it and see it because our actions is an internal reflection to our belief system.
Mhm. Absolutely. But if you take that away from me, what do I have left?
Sitting inside with yourself, going into your emotions and regulating because it's not anything on the external. So if you're looking for those things on the outside and I'll take that away, I'll ask you to sit with those feelings on the inside and really feel what is going on. So for me, it's to help you to regulate and to explore those beliefs and to explore what comes up with those beliefs, the stories that you formed. So we have to go back to the story that created that template. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Because and I value what it is that you're saying. So all of this now becomes a holistic sort of approach, right? You're not just looking at the external, you're looking at the internal, because most therapy and staff just looks at the symptoms. If you are coughing, then that means you've got a cold or things of that nature. So with the various techniques that you use, could you maybe share some of the methods that you use, and practice, and how you actually then help people to heal, especially to the part where nothing triggers them, especially if they've healed it?
Safety is so important. Safety is so important. Even as you said that, the first thing that came up is safety. For me, it's fundamental to provide that safety for my client. Because just like as you are expressing yourself, this meeting is really between me and you, Prosper. And as you're speaking, what you're starting to feel is safe. Safe to explore questions and to open up. So for me, it's important to cultivate safety. That's really important because when people are safe, what will happen is they will feel connected. That will really start to, safety and security is crucial for humans. And that also plays a part of proximity distance, how close I can get or how far I can get. So by me providing safety is by me understanding where you've been created from, what happened, is to understand your story. And once I understand your story, I'm able to navigate with modalities, which is tools, whether it's mindset coaching, whether it's counseling, whether it's inner child therapy. So I'm certified in and accredited in many tools. I call them tools. So you want to envision me like a almost plumber. I'm coming to your house and I've got a box of tools. So I need to diagnose the problem before I can use the appropriate tool. So people would come to me. I need to provide them with safety. I need to provide them with connection. and this is the human need. And once they feel safe, they feel connected, I can understand how to love them. You may have heard this term called love language. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm going to passionately use the term of eros love. I'm saying that I'm going to learn to understand how I can love my client in that moment. And in that moment, know what they need. I can go in and understand the story, what did mommy symbolize, what did daddy symbolize. And these are inner child modalities, which is part of my tool system that I use to integrate with my clients.
Absolutely, and I quite like that because so many people opportunity, or they don't have that person that can be there for them in order for them to actually release, that inner trauma or things of that nature. But how do people know when to call Layla? Okay, because fish don't see the water that they're swimming in. What are some of the signs that, okay, fine, you did give an example of a plumber. If my tap is leaking and I've tried all I can to stop that, then I know it's time to call a plumber. Or something is broken and definitely that needs a plumber to fix, then I know to need a plumber. But if I'm just walking in my office or in my household, how do I know I think I need to call Layla?
When people are looking for expansion, right, and I use this term quite a lot, at every level we meet a new devil because we are constantly healing. Think of it like an onion, right? If you open up an onion, you'll open up a layer, and behind that layer, there's another layer and another layer. So when people are on the road to soul searching or to stepping into their power, whatever that may look, power might look like claiming your power in business, claiming your power in your finances, claiming your power where you don't feel like you don't know what to do in life, you don't have your purpose, you're not stepping into your transformation, you're not living your life authentically, you're not showing up. Perhaps you feel like you have unresolved patterns that keeps playing up and playing up. Whatever that is, I'm there to help untangle that and help you step into that luminous path, because really we are not programmed to live life in lack, in struggle. We are not programmed to live life like this. These programs we found along the journey of the human experience. So when people find themselves in that situation, I'm usually the person they come to.
I like that. Now, you speaking of program, and it just puts me back to like television programming, and the sort of narrative that we are growing up in. You go to kinder, then you go to high school, then you obviously get married, then get a job, or maybe a divorce comes along the way. So there's some sort of a social construct or a line that people have to tick a box along as they as they grow. But from what you're saying, when you bring in Layla, you present somewhat of a pattern break, which then gets people to really stand up, not just follow through the narrative and just skip the commercials when they come on while watching your own life as a movie. Would that be a good sort of representation of what it is that you're talking about, that people just want to go
Yeah.
through that straight line, but there has to be a time where you shake them up and say, hey, it's your turn to start looking, at yourself, or intrinsically.
Absolutely. Usually, the type of people that I work with are people who are ready to take action, but they don't know how. And that's why I'm there to challenge. I like a challenge. And I'm a very goal orientated therapist and coach. So I don't just work on zenning and bringing peace and fixing and walking away. I'm there on bringing the result with my client. Usually, like you say, people are there to find out, look, this is not this is like, the matrix. I need to change that pill I'm taking because I don't want to play small anymore. That is a big thing. The big thing is when people realize I'm not here to play small.
Mm,
And they're ready to step into their ultimate bravery. And those are
absolutely.
people that I love.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of pills, I mean, there's a red pill, blue pill, and there's a limitless pill. Which one are you purveying today?
Limitless.
Fantastic. And if people want to be limitless and really want to explore, either personally or professionally, where would they maybe go to discover themselves in the way that you can help them?
They can find me on my website, which is www.leilahmirzacoachingandhealing.com, or they could email me at info@leilahmirzacoachingandhealing.com. They can also check me out on Instagram as transformational therapist, which is Leilah Mirza Coaching and Healing, and on Facebook too. I'm not actually on Twitter at the moment. But anyway, social media is just one after the other, isn't it? So much to keep up with. But yeah, so those are the platforms that you can find me on, and you can book a clarity call with me just to see where you actually are in your life and what is keeping you behind. Because my question to people is, how are you playing small? And what would you like your ultimate life to look like if there was no limit to anything? Now I'm speaking about no limits in your relationship, no limits in your finance, no limits in your business. What would you like your ultimate life to look like? Because I can show you.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, everybody wants to be, do, and have a happier existence. And obviously, if you've got that pathway, it literally would take them to that next land. But you mentioned that when you were starting your business, you came into some money. Now, if said listener, doesn't have that opportunity for a windfall, are they still going to be able to afford your services, or do they actually have to go and find a
No,
windfall and then maybe come and work
no.
with you?
No. Not at all. Because my programs are designed for everybody and I work with everybody. So I have programs designed where you want to get into my world and work with me. There's a program called the Rise program where you can come and work with me. And then I have another program that's the bravery, that's stepping into your brave, taking action. That program is also available. And then there's my signature program where you get one-to-one work with me, where you're getting my support, you're coming into my world, and I'm helping you and coaching you. But that windfall of money, I just wanted to clarify, money is just an external source. And it wasn't like I had perhaps millions. I never had millions invested. I never came from the riches or anything. Everything that I have in my life, it started with my mindset. And that's where we have to get people at, is at the right mindset. Because if your mindset's not in alignment, all the action you're going to take is not going to fix that.
Absolutely. I mean, what we usually believe is how we then act upon the things that we're going to be doing now. Now, Layla, I can't thank you enough for, the profound insights that you've shared with us today. But since you have welcomed us to your world, as you call it, what's next? What can people now be excited about moving forward? What any new programs, ideas that you're cooking up that people
Yeah.
can jump
Yeah.
onto that yeah.
I have launched these two incredible programs. One program that everyone can access that's on my website. And then I have retreats, and my retreats are based in Spain, in Mias. And I have retreats 2 times a year, so twice a year. I say 2 times, twice a year, in beautiful southern Spain. And that's if you wanted to get more in immersive and embody that healing work alongside me for 3 days. But my coaching programs and my group programs have just been relaunched and there to help anyone, whether you at starting points or whether you are just ready to go in and say, I want to take action. This is where I want to be. If you know where you want to be and who you want to be, that is definitely the program for you.
Absolutely. I can already see, it's not in Ibiza, right? Where you do your retreats.
The business retreat is, but it's not at the party. Everyone associates Ibiza with dance and clubbing. It's not that one. No, there's some beautiful places around Spain. My healing retreat is in Mias, which is southern Spain, and my retreats go fly. They close quick. They cancel and not cancel. They close up quickly because I just have participants getting onto waiting list for those retreats, and those retreats are amazing because you have your nice your luxury meals. You have your massages in those retreats, the meditation, the mindset, the yoga, the Pilates is all inclusive. And then we have the retreats for business women, women who are really looking to take themselves to another level in those retreats.
Absolutely. Well, I was getting a little bit excited there, thinking, it would be party all night in Ibiza there. But I can't thank you enough for obviously sharing your profound insights and just inspiring us with your journey with us today. I mean, your life story and your experience have so much value for a lot of people that are just closed in and haven't really opened up themselves to know that they too can be do and have a happier existence. So I really applaud you for the journey that you're taking and how you're taking others along with you.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be on your show once again, and thanks for having me on your show. And I believe in the work that you're doing, lighting up one by one at a time. So thank you.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. And for those that are listening, if you found value in this conversation, I really encourage you to share this episode with somebody who you know might actually benefit from Leilah's message. And I kid you not, by doing so, you're not only supporting their personal growth, but you're also contributing to the ripple effect of positivity and empowerment. As you have noticed, Leilah is literally giving people back to themselves. Everybody has been subscribing to all the external things that we think give us validation, but if you look within, there you are. So, if this episode was also shared to you by somebody, consider subscribing to the Online Prosperity Show, where more enlightening discussions that can help you unlock your potential are every day. And everyday occurrence around here. I want you to remember one thing: the journey to prosperity is the one you're about to embark right now. Until next time, bye for now.